time for that oil change on your Harley Davidson M8 Softail. 15,000 miles for me. Catch you inside.
RevelatorAlf.
Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well in these testing times. So I'm going to bring you an oil change. This is 15,000 miles for my Harley Davidson M8 Softail, the Sport Glide, as you know. And I wanted to do this video purely to just bring you a little bit of extra information. There's a whole host of oil change videos on YouTube, of course. I thought I'd try and bring something a little bit different. So first of all, take your bike out for a run. You might hear it just cooling down a little bit now. Take your bike out for a run before you do it. Get that oil nice and warm, okay? The next thing to do is before you set up to drain your oil, what you need to do is two things. Okay, so first of all, if you're running a vented dipstick, either by fueling or one that you've made yourself, do yourself a favor, if you can, and put the original dipstick back in, because you want to seal everything up. Now the fueling has probably got a one-way valve in it, so it might not be as critical, but if you've got a homemade vented dipstick, you may not have a one-way valve. And what you want to do, you actually want to stop any air trying to get in through the dipstick, because what you want to check is your engine breather system. And basically when you remove the drain plug, because it should be a sealed unit, that oil dripping out of there should actually just bubble out. Once you remove the dipstick, it should flow out freely. So if you've got your original dipstick still in there and you remove the drain plug, it should bubble out. If it's not bubbling out, then you've basically got air going in through your engine breathers, through those umbrella valves, and you'll probably need to get those changed. It's not time critical, but you know, that's something to consider. Okay, so do that first of all. Now that's what I'm going to do with mine, basically just to check my engine breathers. Right, dipstick, vented dipstick. Now I've got my foil tray configuration just under the bottom. Now you can buy an official one, of course, a drain collector, oil collector, but these work perfectly well. And all you need to have is a 5/8 socket to crack open that drain plug. Right, let me do that. So when you've loosened off the drain plug, just undo it with your hand and just quickly take it out just to see if it bubbles out, and then put the drain plug back in straight away. Right. Okay, so as you saw with mine, it was actually free flowing, so I suspected that my engine breathers were actually letting in air through those umbrella valves, so that's something for me to know in the future. Right, you could also do the same check again. Let's say your engine breathers are absolutely fine, it is bubbling out, then you could put your vented dipstick back in and see if air is going in through your vented dipstick. Okay, so that's something to do. Okay, I'm just going to continue now with this. I'm just going to remove my dipstick. Okay, so things to look for when you're draining your oil. Obviously the colour of it. Is it really discoloured? Is it really black? Check your oil ring, your O-ring here as well. You see mine is kind of crushed and it's pretty much disintegrated. So guess what? Putting a new one on there. Even if it's in good condition, I would still say, do you know what? Replace it. It's future proofing. And do you know what? It's hardly any expense at all. So do that. Also check the mag plug here for any sort of excessive deposits or anything like that. Anything abnormal. There we go, and everything's fine on mine. Right, so all I need to do is clean this up and then just, well, let that finish draining. That's a lot. Okay, so basically give your drain plug a good old clean and then put a new O-ring on it, like so. And what you want to do is just get a little bit of oil, fresh oil, and just put it around the rubber ring, just to moisten it up a little bit. Yeah. Now the total oil capacity for the M8 Softails is 4.7 litres or 5 quarts if you're in the United States, of course. But when you drain the oil on a service, you're not getting all of that out. In fact, you're only taking out about 4 quarts or 3.8 litres. Now, the case has been put forward that when you do an oil change, you're not really doing a proper oil change, because you really need to purge all the oil out. And how you do that on an M8 Softail, basically you have to take off the oil lines, put a bit of compressed air through it, and then that cleans out the air lines, cleans out all the little labyrinths through the head there, disconnect the oil cooler, clean that out as well. On a twin cam, what you would do, you would just remove the scavenger line back to the oil reservoir, and then just motor the engine without the spark plugs, of course, and the oil pump will pump the remaining bad oil back to the that scavenge line, which you've got going into a jar or something. You would have put fresh oil in the first place, so that new oil would be going through, and then you crank it over about 10-20 times, let's say. Then you change your oil filter, and then you've got completely fresh oil all over the bike. But I think really what you need to do is just do regular oil changes. You could do that, purge all the oil, but really, you know, I wouldn't worry too much. Okay, so when you come to fill up your bike, all you really need to have is about 4 litres, because that would be the 3.8 or 4 quarts that you would have on the bike. But do you know what? Always get that extra litre just in case you need to top off after you've taken the bike for a little ride afterwards, and then you might have to check the levels as well. Okay, so this is purely an oil service video, not checking the oil levels. I'll leave that for you to decide, and I've done other videos about that in the past. Right. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is your oil filter as well, and they're little plastic contraptions that you can buy from Harley Davidson that cups under there and collects some of that oil that might drip out. You can make little cardboard cutouts and anything like that that you want to try and minimize any oil that goes to the bottom. Now what I've got are these oil absorbent or fuel absorbent mats that you can get from anywhere, or you can get these any moisture or liquid absorbing mats that you might find in the medical industry, that kind of thing. And basically you just put some of this under there and let it all soak up. Okay, so next you get your oil filter wrench, and I've got one of these universal fit ones. I've always liked them better than the normal cup ones. I think the problem with the cup ones that you see in a lot of videos, it really depends what oil filter you get to replace it with afterwards. That might not work, so I always like this. This is a multi-size, multi-fit oil wrench. Okay, let's do that. So once you've slackened it off, then just remove it by hand. Okay, so once you've removed the filter, just give the whole area a good clean. You get your new oil filter from wherever you got it from. I got it from the local dealership. It's the new redesigned one, well, from a couple of years ago. It's just a bigger oil filter now. And all you need to do is just get a bit of oil and put it over the rubber seal. That's it. Fill up a little bit of oil in there. That'll just help with the oil pressure once you first start the bike up. Prime the oil filter with just a little bit of oil, not a tremendous amount, and if you overfill it like I've just done, just empty it back out. No major drama. After that, all you need to do is put the filter back in and just hand tighten it. That's all you want to do. There you go, job done. Now the reason why I like to use these absorbent pads is invariably, it doesn't matter what anybody says, there's always going to be a little bit of spillage. So when you prime that oil filter, you put it back on, there's going to be a little bit coming out. When you first take out, some of it might come out as well and drip beneath the bike as well. You just put this under the bike, it absorbs any oil that's fallen on the floor or dripping on the floor, and also you can mop up the rest of the bike and your hands as well. Perfect. Right, so oil filter change, oil is drained. Now to put the drain plug back in. That's it. All you need to do is torque it between 19 and 28.5 Newton meters. Done. Now personally, I've got mine set to 21 Newton meters, just at the lower figure, but not quite at 19. Always start low and then go higher, in my book anyway. Done. Right, mop up any oil. Now all you need to do is fill it up with oil. Now I know you see a lot of videos and they've got the official Harley Davidson funnels to fill your oil. Do you know what? Any old funnel will do, with a kitchen one or just like an engineering one, as it were. but as long as it fits in the hole and you can fill it up properly, that's all you need. Right, let me do that. Right, that is done. Now just put the dipstick in, fire it up, let it settle down, do a hot oil check, done. Okay, so once you've filled up the oil, again, this is a mark here. It gives you the gradings of, 4 litres. Basically, you're doing it by eye, really. Just see how much is left there. You think, okay, that's about 200 millilitres for 3.8. But really, all you need to do now is just do that hot oil level check and then top up as necessary. That's all you need to do. So once you've done all that, then you can get all your waste oil and you put it in here, you see, and then it's easier to discard safely and properly. Right, anyway, so there we go. That's the engine oil change on the M8 Softail. So all you need to do then is get your engine oil hot after a little run, 10-minute run, let's say. Then you need to just remove the drain plug. Don't remove the dipstick first of all, because you want to check those engine breathers as well. As I say, mine possibly need changing as well at some point. I'll look into that. But then you're looking for that free flow. If it's not free, if it is free flowing, then you probably got the problem with the engine breathers. If it's not free flowing, it's dribbling out or bubbling out, then they're absolutely fine. Obviously, you can do the same test for the vented dipstick or the fueling dipstick as well. Check the quality of the oil. Check the drain plug as well. Check for the O-ring condition as well. Your oil filter, use some absorbent pads under there, just mop up as best you can. There's always going to be some oil drippage there, no doubt. It's just a really awkward place, I find, on these Softails, on the Harleys, for the oil change. Other bikes, the oil filter is completely exposed, so it's a very easy job. This is a bit tricky with the oil cooler and the frame rail there. But say, just give it a good old clean. You can prime it a little bit if you want to, and then also add some oil there to help with the seal. Hand tighten it, maybe just another quarter turn, if you're 3/4 of a turn, just to give it a good seal. And then really you're going to check for oil leaks afterwards. Put your oil back in and then do the hot oil level check afterwards. Bish bash bosh, it's done. So anyway, I hope that was a little bit different for you, some extra information. But you're not only doing an engine oil change, you're doing an engine quality check. So you're checking the quality of that oil, you're checking if there's any debris in there as well. But also acknowledge that you're not getting all of the oil out on your bike. You really need to do regular oil changes. So let's say if you do an oil change every 2,000 miles, for example, then yes, you're definitely getting it out on a more regular basis. If you're doing it every 5,000 miles, it's still fine, but just be aware that there's still some oil in there. On the twin cams you could do an easier purge, but on the M8s you can't really do it. You have to actually blow through the oil lines, and it's much more of a cumbersome job. So actually you can do that, but it's not absolutely necessary. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell, like and share, and check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. Right, I'm going to do a bit of tidying up. Catch you again. Ta-da. RevelatorAlf.